Given all that he had to do and the extenuating circumstances around him, could you perhaps make a spin zone for CJ Stroud in a Texans offense that scored 9 points? Also, maybe there's a fix for the Texans offense week 2 Monday night against the Bucs, at least in my opinion. And we got to take a look at the thing that got beat up more than the Texans offensive line and CJ Stroud on Sunday. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X and Twitter, also at Gallant Says, Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can catch it Monday through Friday around 6 a.m. and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. Plus, after the fact, it's available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. If you want to cut me off mid-thought, super chat me on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll play this.
Paul, stop talking. Listen.
And I will eventually get to your comments. First comment we have from X, Jaw Wick says, when can we start the Fire Caley chants? I'm going to give Nick Caley a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, given all the musical chairs that the Houston Texans have been playing offensively to open up the season. How good was CJ Stroud on Sunday? If you were to give him a grade, what grade would you give him? I ask that question because, sure, there were some real extenuating circumstances for him before the game because Ed Ingram's out. Instead of going to Juice Scruggs, a former second-round pick, who should be your backup guard, the Texans decided, you know what? The rookie left tackle we drafted in the second round, Ariante Ursary, we're going to move him to right tackle. We're going to move Titus Howard from right tackle to right guard, and we're going to put in Cam Robinson, who hasn't really gotten a lot of work this preseason, at left tackle. Kind of weird, given that Blake Fisher, who you would think would be your backup right tackle if you want to move Titus Howard inside, is a former second-round pick as well. But whatever. This is an offense that only had, as far as receivers from last year, Nico Collins. Everyone else outside of Xavier Hutchinson was new. A couple of rookies, and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. Justin Watson's getting work at the end of the game. It's not like CJ was working with a full deck of cards. With that offensive line in front of him, on brand for the Texans, he was pressured on 41.2% of his dropbacks, 14 pressures, 3 sacks. I guess if you want to spin zone that, it was only the 7th worst performance by any offensive line when it came to pass protection. He was 21st among quarterbacks in time to throw, only was able to throw 3 play-action passes. I think a lot of that had to do with the Texans' offense constantly finding a way to dig itself a hole. But he was 3 for 3 for 47 yards. And by the way, going forward, the leading receptor for the Texans, Cade Stover, broke his foot. Great. But, I mean, those are extenuating circumstances for CJ Stroud. And Stroud actually did well in those extenuating circumstances. He was 9 for 10 for 102 yards. He had a, whatever the fuck this means, 29.7% completion percentage over expected. I didn't know he added some Klondorp ass stat to football, but that's the highest of his career or something. And per Pro Football Focus, or as I like to call it, the Texans had the 7th highest successful play rate. But, look, I think sometimes when you talk about the extenuating circumstances, you run the risk of saying, you know what, my quarterback's not a part of the problem. I don't know that Stroud is a part of the problem for what went down on Sunday, though his comments about a lackadaisical lollygagging week at practice doesn't make me feel particularly good about the leadership that's going on. I mean, no sense of urgency for week one. What about all of last year where you were a massive disappointment? But I don't like removing a quarterback from the results the offense that he's a part of gives you. They scored 3 field goals, no points in the second half, no touchdowns. Stroud is in year 3, as is DeMeco Ryans. Are we going to consistently give him the kid glove treatment that for some reason Anthony Richardson was getting last year until eventually he subbed himself out against the Texans? I want to at the very least be fair. So I saw this post from my buddy, DJ Bien-Aimé, Texans reporter for ESPN. He reposted my coworker, Jeremy Branham, from ESPN 97.5 on the Killer Bees. You can hear from 3 to 6 after my radio show is done. Jeremy asked what grade you would give CJ Stroud, and DJ Bien-Aimé said, B. I responded to him asking, are C's now B's? DJ and I went back and forth. DJ said when the difficulty level is pretty high, I have to factor that in. We're grading a third-year quarterback on a curve. Hey, it's fine. We're going to make lots of excuses for CJ Stroud. But if you've watched me or listened to me long enough, you know that I think that we are pussies when it comes to giving out grades in sports these days. A C is satisfactory. D, unsatisfactory. F is a failure. Nothing wrong with a C, but you want to do better than a C. A B is good. An A is great to excellent. And now all of a sudden people give out B's as if B's are fine. And again, you didn't go to the great schools that I went to. Little booze boy here went to a couple of the douchiest sounding schools growing up. Fair Academy. Shawcrest Preparatory School. And then Syracuse University. I had a pretty good education growing up. Definitely privileged, blah, blah, blah. But I also got tough grading. And given that my sister went to Harvard, I also lived in a household that B's were generally frowned upon. You were getting A minuses at the very least. So I'm a little bit tougher when it comes to grades. And I'm just tired of seeing people now. And if go back to my draft grades live stream, I'm just sick of seeing pussified grading. How do you give a guy who is the quarterback of an offense that scored 3 field goals anything more than a C? C is satisfactory. He didn't screw anything up. But how do you give him more than a C? If we're going to do the nerd thing, we're going to bring numbers to the table. He's 24th in EPA. He's 24th in quarterback rating. 20 of his 27 throws on Sunday were less than 10 air yards. 5 throws, 10 to 19 yards downfield. 2 of those throws, 20-plus yards. One of them was intercepted. That's on Jaden Higgins. It's not on CJ Stroud there. But look, I don't think Stroud played poorly. I'm not criticizing him. But I don't want to, after 9 fucking points being scored, to point at CJ Stroud and say, yeah, that's a B. That's a B. We got to be tougher when it comes to grading Stroud. If we think that Stroud can be the guy that we think he can be, and I have pretty high expectations for Stroud, I think we've got to raise our levels of expectations. People were criticizing Nick Caley, the Texans offense. If you look at the throw chart of where CJ Stroud threw the ball from NFL Next Gen Stats, not a lot over the middle of the field, a lot throwing to his left, a lot throwing short to his right. Definitely a byproduct of some of the offensive line and the limitations and the juggling that the Texans had to do. There are extenuating circumstances that you could say, hey, I mean, CJ didn't have much to work with here. But at some point, Stroud's going to have to raise the level of play around them. He's just going to have to, you know? Nico Collins not involved. They got to find a way to get involved. That's on Nick Caley, but it's also on CJ Stroud. I'm not saying Stroud played poorly. I just am tired of people in this fan base making excuses for a guy that I feel like we're being patronizing by making excuses for the guy. At a certain point, you got to think to yourself, hey, man, this guy is special. And special quarterbacks are going to overcome shaky circumstances, even if the offensive line is great. They got a top 5 receiver for him in Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz is a plus tight end. I need to see a little bit more before I'm going to give a CJ Stroud a B. Now, a part of it's because I saw this from Matt Stafford after the game. Matt Stafford is CJ Stroud's hero. Here's what Matt Stafford had to say about going for over 60,000 passing yards on Sunday.
Cool thing about quarterback and in my thought about it is, I can't throw for any of those yards without every other 10 player on the field, 10 other guys that are, doing their job. And so it's really cool. I share it with so many people and so many teammates and a bunch of coaches, and it's not, oh, that was a cool year, a cool 2 years. I mean, it's been a long time, and a lot of people have sacrificed a lot to help me out along the way, and I appreciate each and every single one of them. It's an amazing thing, and sure as hell glad that we did it getting a win, too.
So that's Matt Stafford. Look, Stafford's not removing himself from the teams that he's been a part of to get to that number, and you shouldn't remove CJ Stroud from the team around him. I do not want us to be, at the end of the year, say the Texans underachieve, still pointing at everybody other than CJ Stroud and still pointing at everybody other than DeMeco Ryans. It was a poor week of practice. Stroud acknowledged that. Well, practice has got to be better leading up to the game, and I get it. There are some difficult things that Stroud has to overcome, but we're saying the same things about Stroud right now that we said about him as a rookie. But maybe I'm being unfair. I like DJ. Perhaps we've just come from different worlds when it comes to grading, So I thought to myself, fuck it. I'm gonna all 22 it. I'm gonna actually watch the film and try to determine if maybe I'm being a little bit unfair when it comes to Stroud, or if maybe I need to give him a B or something like that. So what am I gonna do here? I believe that I can actually put this, let's see here. No, that's not what I want to do. Let's look for this is what happens when you get technical difficulties from time to time. What I tried to do last night was set things up so that I would be able to actually watch some of the NFL films that some other folks are able to do. But for whatever reason, this is not showing up. Nope, that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing. All right. Well, guess what? We're gonna have to log in on another. We're gonna have to log in on another app. So sorry, everybody. It's gonna take a little bit of time to get going. It's gonna be a little bit of an abbreviated show relative to where it's normally at because Daddy's got to do a little TV in a couple of minutes. So let's see. We're gonna log into NFL Pro. Ooh, yeah, they got a new thing. NFL Plus. You want to spend a lot of stupid-ass money and become a film junkie? Well, guess what? You can do it. You can do it with us here at NFL.com. We're going to steal your money so that you can be one of those film people who likes to look at oh my goodness gracious. This is taking a lot longer than it should. Okay. And then we go back to the tab that we had open. And then we go back to the other tab that we had open. And then we do this. And then we do that. And let's see. Here we go. Look at that. We finally figured it out. Good job by Paul. You're the greatest person in the world. Here's the funniest thing is actually eventually the original tab I could have opened it with figured it itself out. But here we go. We're going to watch CJ Stroud. So this is the first play of the game. The deep throw that he has to Nico Collins down the right sideline. It's worth mentioning that this was a 2nd and long situation. 2nd and 17 with 13:57 to go in the first quarter. Throws it downfield. A little bit high for Nico Collins. Did touch one of his hands, but he's unable to come down with it. Okay. Well, let's take a look at play number 2. This is going to be a 5-yard little throw to Cade Stover. Here's Stroud in the shotgun. This is a 3rd and long. Under pressure, does what he can. Throws it over the middle on a 2nd and 17, I guess it was. So, hey, makes the right move, but he's not really throwing it downfield. 3rd down and 6. This is probably one of Stroud's best plays of the game. And you know what? He deserves credit for that. But does this play alone make you think that CJ Stroud gets a B because he scrambled 6 yards for a 1st down? I'm not going to go that far. A little bit later, once again, the Texans finding themselves in the 2nd and long situation. You got Stroud eventually throwing the football to Dalton Schultz. He spins away from pressure and throws that one to Schultz right by the sideline for another 1st down. That was a nice play. Let's take a look at the next play. Texans are starting to cook. Stroud actually gets the ball close to midfield with a throw to Jaden Higgins. I wanted to see more stuff like that. Maybe the Texans offense wouldn't lend itself to that, but CJ Stroud standing in the pocket and throwing the ball over the middle of the field to his receivers. I mean, the touch on that throw, perfect. He puts it in between 3 guys. That's a tough throw to make. If you like Stroud the way we all like Stroud, that's something he could do a little bit more. Up next, here's a throw from Stroud to Nick Chubb. He's looking to his left. He throws it a little bit too far outside of Nick Chubb. I think that the Texans are going to need to probably put in a running back that's actually capable of catching the football better than Chubb in on a regular basis. Joe Mixon could do that for you, but that's not Nick Chubb's forte. Another play, you've got Stroud. Another throw in a tight window to Dalton Schultz. That was on 3rd and 7. He's looking pretty good thus far, right? I mean, if we're to stop grading Stroud based off of now, I think you could give him a B, say he suffered a torn ACL. He got smoked on that play, coming off the edge by number 0 on the Rams. Here's the next play. Stroud is throwing the ball under pressure to the flats. He gets Cade Stover for 1 yard. Gets rid of the ball. Could have thrown it away there too, but instead he gets the throw to a player in the flat for 1 yard. The very next play, here's Stroud looking for Dalton Schultz. This play is going to be more on Dalton Schultz. He throws it to Schultz. He throws it where it needs to be, maybe a little behind Schultz there. Schultz bobbles it, unable to come down with it. Let's see if this angle can give you a better view of Schultz. And off the edge, Byron Young completely destroys Ariante Ursary at right tackle. He just powers right through him. No chance on that play. This is one of those plays where you could definitely look at it and say to yourself, okay. I mean, Stroud did have a tough time there. He did bail out of a non-existent pocket, and that is a little bit concerning with Stroud going forward because it does seem like that happens a little bit more than you would like. Another screen. It's 3rd and long. Stroud to Knoll. It gets positive yards if you want to get excited about anything there. Texans getting the ball back again here. And maybe this is the same. Nope, this is the same play. They're just showing it one more time. That's really all we saw of Jalen Knoll. I want to see if that guy can actually do anything extra, you know? Here's more. Texans get the throw right there to Nico Collins. It's off. He missed it. Coverage with the linebacker. Next play, more Stroud throwing. Texans are driving up. He had nowhere to go on that one. There's a blitz. Now, I think you could make the argument that Stroud at the line of scrimmage right here left and maybe taking a couple of seconds longer to snap the. And, I mean, look where Jake Andrews is looking on the snap. His head is looking to the right. Andrews also has to be on top of things there. But how is this possibly going to work? Like, Andrews never sees it. He's looking to the right. And what's he looking at? There's one guy that's in his immediate vicinity. He's holding his left hand over, but Andrews screwed this one up for sure. And then look over to the left. I mean, you got three guys. Cam Robinson is blocking one guy, but like what's Dario Gunbawale supposed to do with those two guys coming off the edge? You know, nothing. Can't do anything there. So that's one of those plays where it's not Stroud's fault at all that he gets sacked there. More CJ Stroud. They get the ball back with a few minutes before halftime. After that sack, they settled for a field goal there. That was a nice play by Stroud where he scrambles, he pump fakes, gets a couple extra yards there. Would be nice to see Stroud use his legs a little bit more, right? I think so. More from Stroud. Look at that play. I mean, he froze that guy, made him jump. That was a hell of a play. Jamarcus Tyrone comments, Nick Caserio needs to be on the hot seat, especially if they miss the playoffs. He's not a good GM, and he's mismanaged his rebuild. It's okay to say that. I don't know how you can say he's a bad GM with some of the players they brought in, but the offensive line has been an issue. More from the Texans. 14 seconds to go in the first half. Stroud's looking to his left, throws to his left. A little bit too far outside for Jalen Knoll. It would have been tough, though. If you put that on the field, that could have potentially been picked off. 3-man rush there. I mean, step up in the pocket there, I think, if you're Stroud. Watching that back. Is he starting to feel things that aren't necessarily there? 10 seconds left in the first half. Stroud steps up, scrambles to his right, gets the first down. I mean, with his feet, he was at his best. You want to give anything for CJ Stroud a plus grade? How about his feet? Nico Collins' body language not looking great at that moment in time. I wonder if he's getting a little frustrated about not getting the ball thrown his way. I forget if there was an illegal shift on that play. It's 1st and 15 now. This play right here, Stroud steps up in the pocket, has a guy hit him in the leg, hits Nico Collins. It's close to a first down. That was a high difficulty throw. Taking the snap from under center, too, on a play fake. I mean, not much of a pocket right there. And for the Texans, Laken Tomlinson just got beat there. This Texans offensive line's got a lot of journeyman dudes that they're throwing out there just hoping things are going to be better. Higgins is a rookie. That can't happen when you was feeling stuff that wasn't there. And you probably could have given that another split second or so. Trust himself a little bit more. Slant over the middle to Xavier Hutchinson. It was kind of weird to see how long it took them to get him involved. Because there's 3 Rams defenders there. I don't know what you're expecting out of him, you know? He had to hurdle one of them. It's not easy to hurdle somebody, and that's a play that you're wondering, okay, what the hell else was being run out there, given how many offensive linemen they had back and that Schultz was chipping. Must not have been much going on, but the Rams got a lot of pressure on that play. Was this a play where there was a roughing the passer called and the Texans got to continue the drive? It must have been. Or they have the ball back. Fourth quarter, 4:09. Never mind. Yeah, they got the ball back there. I think they punted it. Stroud looked Cade Stover's way a lot. Definitely a bummer that he broke his foot. I don't know if it happened there. Texans gave the ball to Nick Chubb a couple of times. They got to the 40. Little slant over there to Nico Collins. Ball deflected at the line of scrimmage. Ursery is the one in protection there. I mean, yikes. Josiah Stewart, number 10 for the Rams. This is a nice play by him. Ursery's a rookie. Welcome to the NFL. I believe this is the throw Stroud makes to Dare Ogunbowale. And you're loving Dare Ogunbowale in this moment. Yep. Under pressure, gets it to Ogunbowale quickly. Ogunbowale's wide open. Texans are at the Rams 24, 25 yard line or so. And then you got this play. Well, we got to wait one more second for it. And here comes the fumble. It's 1st and 10 with 1:51 to go. The Texans had all 3 of their timeouts here. I don't know why Ogunbowale dove forward like that, like he was trying to get the first down. I really, for the life of me, can't figure it out. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, it was a great play by the Rams linebacker punching it out. No, man. Like right here, put your left arm over your right, fall forward. If you dive forward like that towards the Rams defender, you give him an opportunity to punch it out. And guys do drills now to punch the ball out. If you put the ball out there like that, you can't put it by your waist to protect it. It just loses a point of contact when you're diving forward and the ball is up there. So if you hit it right, it doesn't matter how strong you are, ball's coming out. Ball comes in Fisk. So there you go. That is everything from CJ Stroud Sunday against the Rams. Did he do some flashy, impressive things? No doubt about it. I felt like I saw more good than bad upon second watch, getting the all-22 angle. I'm willing to compromise and at least give CJ a C+. But again, the extenuating circumstances, yes, they existed on the offensive line, with the receivers, with the brand new offensive coordinator. This offense still scored 3 field goals, no touchdowns, 0 points in the second half. I do not like the idea of giving CJ Stroud a B and absolving him of the blame. That's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. I've got to go do TV over on Fox 26. Yes, I'm going to be dressed like this. I'm going to look so fancy. Anyway, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Probably not going to post the podcast version of this. I thought we were going to have time to talk about the Texans-Rams fans fight. We'll probably do that on tomorrow's live stream and also talk about a potential fix for the Texans offense. Among other things, taking a look at everything that went down over the weekend in the NFL. Appreciate everybody so much for stopping by. If you haven't already, like this video on YouTube and subscribe to the channel if you're a first-time watcher. It's the first time I've watched film. If you thought that was good, let me know. If you thought it sucked and I shouldn't do it again, stick to what you know, Paul. Being funny or trying to be funny, you weirdo. Twitch at Gallant Says if you want to give me a sub. I'm also on X and Twitter if you want to see some of my written thoughts at Gallant Says. Instagram at Sports Gallant. TikTok at Gallant Says. That's where you can watch some clips of the show if you're not following along on YouTube. Also on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports if you're a Facebooker. Facebook's just garbage app, so I generally don't go on it. You can catch it Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Central Time, and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. Also available sometimes after the fact via podcast on Apple and Spotify. Subscribe, rate, and review me if you so choose. If you roast my ass, I will read it. Until today's radio show on ESPN 97.5, 92.5, 97.9 HD2, on YouTube at ESPN Houston, on Twitch at ESPN 975, and on the brand new ESPN Houston app for Android and for Apple. So long, farewell, and have yourself